Have you ever experienced that inexplicable feeling like ripples in the ocean of consciousness, where someone's thoughts seem to reach across space and time to find you? Those moments when the hair on the back of your neck stands up, or when an overwhelming sense of connection washes over you without warning. You're not alone. Throughout human history, people have reported these mysterious experiences, and today we're going to explore the fascinating intersection where modern science meets ancient wisdom. We retweeted the concept of an ancient Mediterranean flatwool. Welcome to a journey where we'll uncover 8 remarkable signs that suggest someone might be thinking about you constantly. We'll dive deep into the psychology, examine cutting-edge research, and even explore some age-old wisdom that might surprise you. If you're finding value in this kind of content that bridges the gap between science and human connection, consider joining our community of curious minds. Together, we're exploring life's most intriguing mysteries. Sign 1. The mirror of thoughts. When minds connect. Let's begin with something truly fascinating that modern psychology is just starting to understand: the phenomenon of thought-action fusion. Imagine your brain as a sophisticated broadcasting station, constantly sending and receiving signals. When someone thinks about you intensely, it creates what psychologists call a mental template, a detailed psychological imprint that can influence both their behavior and, surprisingly, the world around them. Ancient cultures had their own way of describing this. In Japanese culture, they speak of kizuna, ban, an invisible bond that connects people's thoughts and feelings. Native American traditions talk about spirit threads that link minds across distances. What's remarkable is how modern neuroscience is finding evidence that suggests these ancient insights might have been onto something. Here's what happens in the brain when someone can't stop thinking about you. Their neural pathways actually begin to create stronger connections associated with memories of you. It's like their mind is carving rivers of thought, and you're the ocean they're flowing toward. This isn't just poetic metaphor. Neuroscientists have observed how repeated thoughts physically reshape our neural architecture. Gradually, we begin to train the mind's eye to see things within a greater focus and access a deeper understanding of what really matters. Consider this. Have you ever had a moment where you suddenly thought of someone, only to have them appear in your life moments later? Psychology researcher Dr. Bernard Beitman calls this coincidence sensitivity, an enhanced awareness of meaningful patterns that often spikes when someone is occupying another person's thoughts. It's as if their constant thinking about you creates a kind of psychological resonance that you can unconsciously detect. But here's where it gets even more interesting. This mental connection often manifests in subtle ways you might not immediately recognize. Maybe you start using phrases they commonly use, or you find yourself drawn to places they've mentioned. These aren't random occurrences, they're what psychologists call implicit memory activation, where your brain picks up on subtle cues connected to someone who's thinking about you intensely. If you're finding these insights helpful in understanding the deeper connections between people, you're in the right place. Our community is dedicated to exploring these fascinating aspects of human consciousness and connection. Make sure you're part of this journey of discovery. By joining us, you won't want to miss what's coming next. The Science of Daydreaming, your starring role in their mental movie. What if I told you that daydreaming isn't just idle mental wandering, but rather a powerful indicator of emotional connection? Neuroscientists have discovered something remarkable about our brain's default mode network, the system that activates when we're lost in thought. When someone constantly thinks about you, you become integrated into what researchers call their mental landscape. Let's break down what actually happens in someone's mind when you're their frequent thought visitor. Their brain creates what psychologists call associative networks, intricate webs of memories, emotions, and future projections, all centered around you. It's like their mind is constantly directing a movie where you're the main character, even in scenes you've never actually been in. Think about these scenarios. They're getting coffee and the barista makes a heart in the foam. Suddenly they're thinking about your smile. They hear a song you once mentioned and their whole day shifts color. A random dog on the street reminds them of that time you talked about wanting a puppy. These aren't just random thoughts. They're what psychologists call automatic cognitive associations, and they're a telling sign that you've become a significant part of their mental processing. Here's the fascinating part. This kind of intensive thinking actually changes their brain chemistry. When someone daydreams about you regularly, their brain releases small amounts of dopamine and oxytocin, the same neurochemicals associated with bonding and attachment. It's as if their brain is literally rewiring itself around thoughts of you. Sign 3. The dance of synchronicity. When coincidences aren't random, have you ever wondered why certain coincidences feel charged with meaning? Carl Jung, the renowned psychologist, introduced the concept of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that defy ordinary probability. When someone is constantly thinking about you, these synchronicities often multiply in fascinating ways. Imagine this: you decide to try a new cafe in a different part of town, and there they are, sitting by the window. You both show up to work wearing almost identical outfits without planning it. You pick up your phone to message them, and their text arrives at that exact moment. These aren't just random coincidences, they're what parapsychologists call temporal clustering, patterns that emerge when consciousness becomes entangled. The science behind this is still emerging, but quantum physicists have discovered something remarkable. Particles that once interacted remain mysteriously connected, regardless of distance, the phenomenon Einstein called spooky action at a distance. Some researchers suggest that human consciousness might operate in similar ways, creating subtle connections that manifest as these synchronized moments. Consider the Japanese concept of en, the invisible threads of destiny that draw people together through seemingly random encounters. These synchronicities often increase in frequency and significance when someone is holding you in their thoughts. It's as if their consistent focus on you creates a kind of gravitational pull in the fabric of reality, drawing parallel experiences and unexpected meetings into existence. Even skeptics have noted that when someone thinks about you intensely, they unconsciously create opportunities for these synchronicities to occur. They might choose routes you typically take, frequent places you've mentioned, or make choices that align with your patterns, all without conscious planning. Psychologists called this selective attention bias, where their focus on you literally shapes their decisions and movements through the world. Sign 4. The energy shift. When thoughts create waves. Have you ever experienced a sudden shift in your emotional state that seemed to come out of nowhere? One moment you're going about your day, and the next you're flooded with unexpected feelings, a wave of warmth, a flutter of excitement, or even an inexplicable sense of anticipation. Ancient wisdom traditions and modern energy medicine might have a fascinating explanation for these mysterious emotional waves. In traditional Chinese medicine, they speak of qi, or life force energy that flows between connected individuals. Similarly, Indian yogic traditions discuss pranasharira, the energy body that extends beyond our physical form. These ancient concepts are finding interesting parallels in modern bioenergetic research, which studies the subtle electromagnetic fields that surround living beings. When someone is deeply focused on you, these energy shifts might manifest in several ways. A sudden warmth spreading across your chest or face, an inexplicable smile appearing on your lips, a burst of energy or motivation that seems to come from an external source, a feeling of being wrapped in a comfortable, familiar presence, unexpected goosebumps or tingling sensations, particularly on your arms or the back of your neck. What makes this phenomenon particularly intriguing is its tendency to occur at specific times. Many people report experiencing these energy shifts during significant moments in the other person's day, perhaps when they're making an important decision about you, or when their thoughts are particularly focused in your direction. Dr. Roland McCrady's research at the HeartMath Institute has shown that human hearts generate electromagnetic fields that can be detected several feet away from the body. Could intense thoughts about someone create similar fields that transcend physical distance? While the research is ongoing, many people's experiences suggest there might be more to these energy connections than we currently understand. Sign 5. The social echo. When their thoughts leak into their circle. This sign is perhaps one of the most tangible proofs that you're living rent-free in someone's mind. Their social circle becomes a mirror reflecting their thoughts about you. When someone thinks about you constantly, it's like trying to hold water in cupped hands. Eventually, it spills over into their conversations, their choices, and their social interactions. Let's explore what this looks like in practice. You might notice that friends casually mentioning specific details about your life that you never shared with them, taking knowing glances or sharing subtle smiles when you're mentioned, already knowing your preferences or interests before you've discussed them, treating you with unusual familiarity or inclusivity, referencing conversations or events you weren't present for, but where you were clearly the topic. Psychologists call this phenomenon social information leakage, when someone thinks about you so much that it inevitably influences their social interactions. It's like a game of Chinese whispers, where their thoughts about you create ripples through their social network. But here's what makes this sign particularly revealing. These social echoes often carry emotional undertones. Their friends might demonstrate protective or supportive behavior toward you, interest in your opinions or preferences, a tendency to create situations where you and the person thinking about you might interact, subtle attempts to gauge your feelings or intentions, an almost conspiratorial attitude as if they're in on a secret. This social echo effect isn't just about casual mentions. It's about the quality and frequency of these interactions. When someone constantly thinks about you, they unconsciously create what sociologists call an inclusion sphere, where you become integrated into their social world, even in your absence. Sign 6. Digital footprints. Modern window to their thoughts. In our interconnected digital age, thoughts and feelings often leave traces in the virtual world. These digital footprints can be surprisingly revealing when someone can't get you off their mind. Think of social media not just as platforms, but as mirrors, reflecting the patterns of someone's thoughts. Consider these subtle but telling digital behaviors. The timing of their online interactions with you, those late-night likes on your posts aren't random. Psychologists call this digital proximity seeking, when someone unconsciously tries to maintain a connection through virtual touch points. Their pattern of engagement, maybe they're always among the first to view your stories, not just occasionally, but with a consistency that speaks of underlying attention. The depth of their digital presence, they don't just skim the surface, but engage with your content in meaningful ways. Thoughtful comments, relevant shares, or reactions that show they're truly processing what you share. But here's where it gets fascinating. Studies in digital psychology have shown that our online behavior often reveals subconscious patterns we're not even aware of. When someone thinks about you constantly, they create what researchers call a digital orbit around your online presence. This might manifest as sharing content that oddly aligns with conversations you've had privately, posting things that seem specifically curated for your interests, creating content that references shared experiences or inside jokes, maintaining a consistent presence in your digital space without being overwhelming, engaging with your network in ways that keep them peripherally connected to you. The key is in the patterns, not just the individual actions. Dr. Sherry Turkle from MIT calls this digital attunement, when someone's online behavior unconsciously aligns with their deeper thoughts and feelings. Sign 7. The memory mirror. In their mind becomes your archive. This sign reveals itself in the remarkable way someone becomes an unintentional historian of your shared existence. When you occupy someone's thoughts consistently, their brain creates what neuroscientists call enhanced memory consolidation for everything related to you. Think about these scenarios. They remember tiny details you mentioned in passing months ago. They can recall specific outfits you wore at particular events. They remember your exact words from seemingly casual conversations. They notice small changes in your habits or appearance that others miss. They can reference past conversations with surprising accuracy. But this isn't just about having a good memory. The fascinating part is how their brain prioritizes information about you. Neuroscientists have found that emotional investment actually enhances memory formation. When someone thinks about you constantly, their brain treats information about you as high-priority data, storing it with remarkable clarity and detail. This memory enhancement often shows itself in unexpected ways. They remember your preferences better than you do sometimes. They can recall the context and environment of specific interactions. They notice patterns in your behavior or choices over time. They remember emotional nuances in your past conversations. They can connect current situations to past experiences you've shared. What makes this sign particularly telling is its consistency. Anyone can remember big moments, but when someone's mind is constantly tuned to your frequency, they remember what psychologists call the micro moments, those small, seemingly insignificant details that most people would forget. It's as if their brain has created a dedicated filing system just for you. The science behind this is fascinating. When we think about someone frequently, we strengthen what neurologists call memory consolidation pathways. It's like their brain is constantly running a background program dedicated to processing and storing information about you. Sign 8. Dream infiltration. When thoughts cross the dream barrier, there's perhaps no realm more mysterious than the world of dreams, where thoughts and reality intertwine in fascinating ways. Ancient cultures, from Egyptian dream temples to Native American vision quests, have long believed that dreams serve as bridges between minds. Today, we're discovering there might be more to this ancient wisdom than we once thought. When someone thinks about you intensely during their waking hours, these thoughts can create what dream researchers call thought incubation patterns that manifest in their dreamscape. But this connection goes deeper than just simple dream appearances. Consider these intriguing patterns. Recurring dreams. When someone appears repeatedly in your dreams, or you in theirs, it's what psychologists call dream persistence, a phenomenon where significant thoughts cross the threshold into our subconscious realm. Shared dream elements. Sometimes, people report experiencing similar dream themes or scenarios about each other during the same time period. Dream researchers call this dream concordance. Emotional resonance. The feelings in these dreams often mirror the emotional intensity of their thoughts about you during waking hours. Symbolic connections. Their subconscious mind might represent you through recurring symbols, places, or themes that hold special meaning in your connection. Lucid awareness. They might experience increased lucidity in dreams featuring you, suggesting their conscious thoughts about you are strong enough to penetrate their dream state. Modern sleep science has revealed that during REM sleep, the brain processes emotional memories and strengthens neural pathways connected to significant thoughts. Dr. Matthew Walker, a leading sleep researcher, suggests that our dreams often feature what our mind is trying to process most actively. When someone thinks about you constantly, you become part of what he calls their dream processing priority. Conclusion. As we've explored these 8 remarkable signs, from the mirror of thoughts to dream infiltration, we begin to see how deeply human connections can run. Whether through the lens of modern science or ancient wisdom, one truth becomes clear. Our thoughts create ripples that extend far beyond our own minds. Let's weave together what we've discovered. Our thoughts have tangible effects, from neural pathways to energy shifts. Modern technology has given us new ways to detect these thought patterns. Ancient wisdom and contemporary science often point to the same truths. These signs tend to appear in clusters, strengthening their significance. The truth? Our connections operate on levels we're only beginning to understand. Remember, while any single sign might be explained away, it's the pattern that tells the story. When multiple signs appear together, they create what psychologists call a constellation of connection, a network of indicators suggesting someone's thoughts are indeed focused on you. Whether you're experiencing these signs yourself or simply curious about the hidden threads that connect us, remember that human consciousness is still largely uncharted territory. What we do know is that thoughts have power. They shape our reality, influence our connections, and sometimes, in ways we're only beginning to understand, reach across space and time to touch others. Before we part ways, take a moment to reflect on your own experiences. Have you noticed these signs in your life? Has someone been showing up in your thoughts, dreams, or daily synchronicities? Share your stories in the comments below. Your experience might help others understand their own connections better. If you found value in exploring these deeper aspects of human connection, consider becoming part of our community. Together, we're unraveling life's most fascinating mysteries, one insight at a time.